Please raise, stand up, and welcome our International President, Barry Rassin.
Thank you so much. Hopefully this is working. You know, when I first heard that we were going to have a night of 1,000 Paul Harris Fellows, I first saw that I thought, you must be making a movie. A night of 1,000 fellows. Kind of a Star Trek kind of thing. Because who would imagine you'd get 1,000 Paul Harris Fellows in one night? But you are doing it. And I'm here because I want to say thank you. Thank you for all that you're doing. Peter and Garth, fabulous what you guys are doing. Thank you. Just for Governor Drew and Sarah, you guys are leaders. You are doing something that's very special in District 6990. As I understand it, you have not had a group this large together, even at a district conference. That says a lot for your leadership. As I said, I wanted to say thank you and tell you a little about your foundation. That $1,000 that all of you have given to help our foundation do the work that we do. You know about polio. You know we started with 350,000 people a year, mostly children. Over 30 years ago, we said, we're going to eradicate polio off the face of the earth. And we promised the children of the world that we would do it. 350,000. Last year, we had 33 children with polio. This year, so far, 8 children with polio. That's because of you. And I want to make sure you understand that. It's because of what you do to support our foundation that allows the work of polio eradication to happen. And you should be very proud of that. And a lot of people say polio eradication. Well, we immunize all the children. And that's true, but we do so much more than that. There's only 3 endemic countries left. Nigeria hasn't had a case in 2 years and 8 months. They had to deal with the Boko Haram in the northeast corner of the country because they weren't allowing workers to go there. So Rotary convinced the military, convinced the government to allow the military to go in and immunize the children, even though the Boko Haram was there terrorizing. And they did, and we've done it. And because of that, we immunized 100,000 more children this year than last year. Rotary did that. Friends in Pakistan are really frustrated. They're working so hard. 3 weeks ago, they put together 48,000 immunization teams, and in 1 week they immunized 39 million children. Every time I hear the numbers, I say, no, it can't be. There's too many zeros. But they do it. They do it, and Rotary is spearheading it every single time. Yes, we have partners who work extremely well with us. World Health Organization, CDC, and UNICEF. They're right alongside of us, helping make sure that we do it. UNICEF has even said this year, we need to do something a little different, because we're not there yet. And all of the leaders of eradication saying, we've got to finish this as soon as we can. They have now set a date that by the year 2023, we will certify that polio has been eradicated. Yeah. That means they expect the last case of polio to happen by the early part of next year. We are that close to finishing the job. What an incredible thing the Rotary is doing. We have a Rotarian in Pakistan who was so upset we couldn't get this job done. He sent out word he wanted to talk to the Taliban. Would anybody other than a Rotarian be that crazy? But he sent word out, and next thing he knew, these 6 armed thugs came to his office and asked him what this was all about. He said, "I just want to save your children." They said, "All right, come with us." They took him outside, put a hood over his head, took him in a car, drove him for about an hour. This Rotarian never knew if he'd see his family again, never knew if he'd get back to where he was. But he went. When he got to the house, he took off the hood.
Get close.
The leader in the room is full, he said 20, 30 people. They allowed us to go in and immunize every single child. A Rotarian can make an amazing difference in this world, as you have 2 right here who do that on a regular basis. Am I right? And it's not just polio. That's just one facet of what we do. It's our #1 priority, and we're going to finish the job. We know that. But there's so much else. Esther and I have had the privilege, the honor this year, to represent you in visiting Rotary clubs around the world. So far, we've been to 52 countries and 25 states in the United States. We've been through 10 suitcases. But what we see that Rotary does is what excites us. In Paraguay, the Rotarians gave a small hospital equipment to allow the healthy mothers to donate their milk for babies at risk. One of the few in all of South America, right in Paraguay, done by Rotarians so that high-risk babies could get nutrition from good mother's milk. One of the few milk banks on the continent. Doing a fabulous job saving lives. Saving lives. Babies who otherwise would not have made it, now can make it. In Manila, Rotary built a building just to do dialysis because they knew that people were on a waiting list for dialysis. We're not getting dialysis. There just wasn't enough machines in the country. So Rotary built a building, got a global grant to put the equipment in, worked a deal with the government where they gave a small subsidy so the patients didn't have to pay anything, and they started cleaning up that list of people who needed dialysis. I had the great privilege of walking in, seeing the equipment in action. An elderly lady who was there stopped me and wanted to say hello. I think she just wanted to know who this entourage of people were. So I went over and I shook her hand. She pointed to my Rotary pin. She said, "I know a lot of people here wear that." She said, "And I know it's because of them that I can get hooked up to this machine. And I just want to say thank you for saving my life." Wow. Powerful. What Rotary is doing to change life. What your Rotary Foundation is doing with your funds. It is remarkable. And you should be very proud of it. In Lithuania, the Rotarians, from a club with 12 members, have been supporting the same hospital since 2002. Every year they do a grant for the hospital. While we were there, the most recent was all the equipment for a newborn intensive care unit, which made this hospital now become the referral center for the southern half of Lithuania to save babies at high risk, saving lives because of a club with 12 members. That's what we do. But the one I want to tell you about now is Madagascar. You know, our Rotary Foundation does a lot of global grants. You're familiar with those. You work with those. We also have something called a vocational training team, right? You've heard of the VTT? Okay. Yes. It replaced the GSE, which is the Group Study Exchange. Sort of. You can still do a GSE if you want to in your district, but the VTT, from a foundation point of view, took it over. So I heard about this medical mission going on in Madagascar, a very small and poor country off the coast of the continent of Africa. And I went there to be a part of this mission to see it in action, a VTT in action. I'd never actually seen it happen. And the idea of a VTT is that experts in a field go to another location to provide training to help the locals get that expertise. So I go to this VTT in Madagascar, and there's 19 surgeons from India who were there. And there was about 15 volunteers with them. I suspect there was a lot of wives there. The point was 19 surgeons gave up their practice to spend 2 weeks in Madagascar to help provide surgery and to train local doctors. Every one of them was a Rotarian. I can't get doctors to join my Rotary Club. I don't know how they do that. But everyone was a Rotarian. They had all different specialties. They had eyes, they had pediatrics, they had orthopedics, they had ear, nose, and throat, they had a heart, they had all the specialties. Dentists. In 8 days, they did 3,500 procedures. The pictures I'm trying to not allow anybody to see are pictures of me gowned up, pushing patients on a stretcher. The surgeons could do their work, and then we volunteers would move the patients from the operating room to the recovery room, and then bring in the next patient. And they were turning them over like you wouldn't believe. In one room, they had 2 cataract patients at the same time, 2 surgeons doing cataracts. And as soon as one's finished, it took about 28 minutes each. As one moved, the next one's already been processed by another volunteer to come in and take their place. And they just kept doing it. Most of the patients were children. And tonsils and hernias and dental problems were the biggest number of cases. Tonsils. They couldn't do tonsils in that hospital. But guess what? Now they can. They trained 12 surgeons locally to do the tonsils, to do the hernias, to do the cataract surgery, even a little orthopedics, even a little of other ear, nose, and throat problems. So that after they leave, they continue. And that's what your Rotary Foundation has done. They have changed healthcare in that community forever because of your Rotary Foundation. Be proud. Be proud. But I also want to tell you a story about how the dollars work. Because I think the best investment one could ever make is in our Rotary Foundation. And I use the pink Jeep in Haiti to give this example. After the earthquake, Rotary did 105 projects worth $6.5 million in Haiti. Rotary was the first organization on the ground providing supplies, and the first organization to do long-term relief. Rotary. Because we had communication no other organization had. So 24 hours after the earthquake, our first Rotary plane full of supplies landed in Haiti. We couldn't land at the major airport because it was destroyed by the earthquake. So we landed on what we call a grass airstrip. It actually was the backyard of a Rotarian. Thank goodness for good pilots. But we did all these projects, but one always stands out and one gets talked about the most, and that's the pink Jeep. We said we need to do something for the midwives that are here who are trying to help the mothers who, because of the earthquake, can't get to a hospital, don't have the ability to either transport or to even have a facility to help them. And we asked them what they need. They said, we need transportation. So we said, okay, let's get them transportation. So we raised $1,000 locally, and we got clubs and districts to match, and individuals. And we took that $1,000 and bought ourselves a Jeep for $72,000. $1,000 turned into $72,000. That included a grant from our Rotary Foundation. Are there any bankers in the room? Can you get my 1,000 into 72,060? No. Okay, I'm still looking for that banker. I can't find it. But our foundation can do that. And you know, it's not just about the money. It's about what it does. We went back 2-3 years later to visit every single one of those projects to make sure they were done and done well. And when we got to the midwives, we asked, well, how's the Jeep doing? For us, it was just transportation, just enable them to do their job. They said, well, that's true, but we believe we've reduced maternal and infant mortality by 50%. Not only do we leverage our dollars significantly, we also save lives. Are you proud of your foundation yet? And I'm so proud of you. And again, that's why I'm here, because I want to say thank you for each one of you standing up and being either a new Paul Harris Fellow or adding to your Paul Harris Fellow, or becoming a major donor. And to the AKS Society members that you have. Fantastic. The work that we do because of your support is happening around the world. And you should be very proud of it. And of course to continue to support it so we can continue to do it, right? Well, that was a little weak, right? But you know, as much as I talk about how amazing our foundation is, I also have to add in that we need to step back and look at ourselves today as Rotary clubs and make sure that we are still relevant to today's world. Today's world is a little different than it was when Paul Harris started us in 1905. And we need to make sure that we're relevant to the young professionals so they want to join us and be a part of us, and to the recently retired to make sure that they have something to do after retirement. Rotary is an organization #1 in the world for doing good. We're changing lives on a regular basis. And it's because of what you do. It's because of your support, both in person and in donation. You make a big difference. So, thank you, thank you, thank you.